Here we are once again, my brothers and sisters in Christ. What a great morning we have before us to study His Word. I want to welcome you to another Living Hope Today study. Today we find ourselves in Exodus chapter 4, and honestly, we find ourselves up against one of the most bizarre little stories in all the Bible. But before we get to that, we'll see that God is moving forward in His plan, and we'll see it along the way as we explore this. Let me show you. In Exodus 4:18, you might remember this, the negotiations are over, okay? Moses has delivered every excuse he can think of to God, including he can't speak and he's not good in front of people, whatever. I mean, just think about it. Moses had his agenda set. What was he going to do? He was going to be a shepherd out there in the middle of nowhere till the day he died. That's at least what he thought. God had his agenda set as well. Moses, you're the one I'm going to use to deliver my people from the bondage of slavery in Egypt. Moses offers every excuse he can think of. God overcomes every excuse that Moses brings with his reassurance, showing him that there's 3 different kinds of miracles God's going to perform to help the people know that Moses was sent by God. So the story now picks up a little momentum in 4:18, when Moses is now going on the journey of going back to Egypt. Then Moses went back to Jethro, his father-in-law, and he said to him, "Let me go back to my own people in Egypt to see if any of them are still alive." And Jethro said, "Go, and I wish you well." So now what's happening? Well, Zipporah, Moses' wife, is having her life completely disrupted as well, right? She never signed up to go back to Egypt because she had never been to Egypt as far as we know. Now she's going with her husband because her husband has come home and said, "God's sending me to Egypt." And really? Okay, let me leave my family, let me leave all my roots and all the things I'm familiar with, and I'm going to walk to Egypt with you, Moses, and we're going to take our kids with us. We'll show you that in a second. Now the Lord had said to Moses in Midian, "Go back to Egypt, for all the men who wanted to kill you are dead." So this capital punishment that Moses may have feared because some people had seen him kill that Egyptian in defense of the Hebrew, all that's over. Those people are dead. God knows about it. God does what? Well, he sends Moses back. So Moses took his wife and sons. Oh, wait, his wife and sons? I thought he just had Gershom, right? Well, now the text gives us a plural, sons. So we know that Moses and Zipporah have had more than one child. In fact, I think I have my reference wrong. Is it Genesis 18? I think it might be Exodus 18, where we learn that Moses' second son is named Eleazar. Again, I prepare these things very early in the morning. Sorry, that missed my attention. But we see that Moses has a little family going, at least 4. Him and Zipporah, Gershom, and Eleazar. They're on their way to Egypt. So he took his wife and sons, he put them on a donkey, and started back to Egypt. I imagine Zipporah is thrilled. And he took the staff of God in his hand. That's very important, remember, because God has shown Moses that that staff will be used by God to display supernatural things to prove to the Hebrew people that Moses has been sent by God to be the deliverer. Okay, so the Lord said to Moses, "When you return to Egypt, see that you perform before Pharaoh all the wonders I have given you the power to do." All right, well, okay, Moses, take that staff and let him see it. But look at this. "But I will harden his heart so that he will not let the people go." Now, a little theology problem for a lot of people here is, what do you mean, God, you're going to harden Pharaoh's heart? What are you talking about? You mean you're going to put it in Pharaoh's heart to disobey you so that you can destroy him? Well, it's a topic that's been pushed around by theologians for centuries. I just want you to see this list, okay? If you want to do your homework, you can pause this right here. Those are the listings of where Pharaoh's heart is mentioned regarding his relationship to God. The best explanation of this, and we'll see it as we continue through the book, is that Pharaoh's heart was already hard. He was determined not to do anything that God wanted him to do. Why? Because he himself considered himself to be God. People were worshiping him. He wasn't going to bow to some foreigner's God. He had no concept of the fact that that foreigner's God really was God, the only true God, and that no matter what kind of power Pharaoh thought he had, it was no match for the Almighty One. And so God leads Pharaoh to his own destruction through Pharaoh's hardness, and God does allow Pharaoh to get harder and harder and harder. But the intention here is not for God to destroy Pharaoh because he just doesn't like him. The intention here is God's going to destroy Pharaoh because Pharaoh is going to destroy himself through his unrelenting unwillingness to be faithful to God, to serve God, to listen to God. And you can read those passages. That'll help you sort that out if you want to pursue it. In 4:22, then say to Pharaoh, this is what the Lord said. This is interesting, isn't it? Israel, that's now the name of the nation of the Hebrew people. Remember, Jacob was named Jacob. God added to that name Israel. And now God is calling his people Israel, but more than that, Israel is my firstborn son. These people, this group of Jewish people that have come through Abraham's line, I'm considering them to be my firstborn son. Every father knows what a firstborn son means to him. God is saying, these people are precious to me. And you need to tell the Pharaoh exactly that. And I told you, let my son, not let all my people, let my son go, so he may worship me. But what? You refuse to let him go. Now look at this. God's retribution. So I will kill your firstborn son. God here foreshadows the last plague where the firstborn sons of Egypt all die, and those who are covered by the blood of the Lamb on their doorposts receive the angel of death passing over them instead of the elimination of their firstborn sons. So all the way from the beginning of this deliverance sequence here in chapter 4, we see God knows exactly how this is going to go and where it's going to end up. And hey, guess what? You're deliberately killing, hurting, preventing my firstborn Israel from worshiping me. And because you're refusing that, I am going to deliberately kill your firstborn. All right? The punishment is going to fit the crime. It's going to be an equal kind of retribution. All right. And then we get to this. Buckle up, church. Listen to this. At a lodging place on the way, Moses, family on the donkey, walking to Egypt. We got to stop for the night. Here we go. The Lord met Moses and what? And was about to kill him. Really? Isn't that going to kind of mess up the deliverance story if we kill the deliverer? If we kill Moses? Why would God want to kill Moses? And we're not really told exactly. We're told what happened. But Zipporah, that's his wife, took a flint knife, cut off her son's foreskin, and touched Moses' feet with it. So Zipporah performs emergency surgery by circumcising her son and touching Moses' feet with it. And she says, surely you are a bridegroom of blood to me. What does that mean? Well, maybe it means that, hey, Moses, I didn't sign up for this. In our pagan religion, I would have never required the circumcision of my son. And now you and your God have got me out here in the wilderness on the way to Egypt, and I know God's about to kill you. I don't know how she knew that. Maybe Moses was really ill. We're not really told. This is sort of a mysterious sequence here. But we do get told that Zipporah understood what to do. She circumcises the son. She expresses her frustration. You're a bridegroom of blood to me. And the Lord let him alone. So the Lord let him alone. Does that mean when she touched his foot that God allowed the healing process to happen because Moses was about to die from some sort of illness? We're not told. But we are told that at the time she said the bridegroom of blood, referring to circumcision, that was the time that God allowed Moses to live. Whether that meant he recovered from an illness or what it meant, we just know that Moses lives. But God's making a point here, and I hope we can get this point. The point is, none of us, no matter what the calling of God is on our lives, none of us are given a pass when it comes to obedience to God. All of us are his servants. All of us are subject to him. He is our moral authority, and we obey him, every one. Well, let's just go back for a second to Genesis 17 and think about circumcision for a second. God says this to Abraham, "This is my covenant with you and your descendants after you, that the covenant you are to keep. Every male among you shall be circumcised." Now, what's that about? Well, that's about we're going to cut off the foreskin. And what's that about? Well, that most sensitive organ is the organ that continues to make more and more sinners. And God has chosen to symbolically use this act of circumcision to symbolize coming into covenant relationship with him, to be delivered from sin through him. You are to undergo circumcision. Look at here, it says it will be a sign of the covenant between me and you. This is how you're going to know that the promises I've made to you to deliver you to the promised land, to make you a great nation, to bless all peoples in the earth through you, this sign is to help you understand that that's exactly what I'm going to do for the generations to come. Every male among you who is 8 days old must be circumcised, including those born in your household or bought with money from a foreigner, those who are not your offspring, whether born in your household or bought with your money, they must be circumcised. My covenant in your flesh is to be an everlasting covenant. Any uncircumcised male who has not been circumcised in the flesh will be cut off from his people. Why? He has broken my covenant. So God is saying to Moses, look, you might consider yourself a shepherd in Midian for the rest of your life, but if you're going to deliver my people, you're going to have to obey me. You've been lax, Moses. You have not followed my decrees with your own family. Well, thanks to Zipporah, now we've seen what? The maidens that, what are they called? I guess I'm having a brain dead here for a second. But the birthing ladies that help people have babies, whatever they're called, they've delivered Moses from Pharaoh's edict to be drowned. Moses' mother and sister have put him in the Nile to save his life. Pharaoh's daughter has rescued him from the edict Pharaoh gave to drown him in the Nile. So now we have Zipporah saving him from God because of his disobedience. We have women saving Moses all over the place in the book of Exodus. And now, through God's power, we'll see that he delivers them. If you want to see a little more about circumcision, I recommend you just take a minute and look at Jeremiah 4:4. Okay, the text keeps moving. The Lord said to Aaron, go into the desert to meet Moses. So he met Moses at the mountain of God and kissed him. The brothers are reunited. Then Moses told Aaron everything the Lord had sent him to say, and also about all the miraculous signs he had commanded him to perform. So Moses relays the story to his brother Aaron, just as the Lord said. Moses and Aaron brought together all the elders of the Israelites. This is what God had told Moses to do. And what happens? Aaron told them everything the Lord had said to Moses. Aaron has now been designated as the official spokesperson of Moses. He also performed the signs before the people. So God's proof that Moses is the one to deliver them is given to the elders and the people. And what do? And they believed. All right, we see this. And when they heard that the Lord was concerned about them and had seen their misery, what did they do? They bowed down and worshiped. So they believe the story about Moses. They hear it from Aaron. They are grateful that God's concerned about them. They believe and they worship face down before the Lord. The story continues. But what do we learn today? Well, God's plan is unstoppable, but also you and I have to pay particular attention to how we live, because it matters to God that we walk with Him and worship Him in spirit and in truth. I pray you have a great day, church. Serve Him well. God bless you.